you and Kendrick are really close. Y'all prank call each other.
Him and Q did a couple times when I was many moons ago. But yeah, like I remember. I can't really say what they were saying because it involves somebody. But they would just say it was just I don't know. That's when this shit was real fun though. Like they not, bro. That's why I just be like looking at all this stuff. I'm like, bro, y'all don't understand. Like when we all got to start knowing each other, them is funny, bro. Like I don't think people understand. Like they take this music stuff. Like, bro, we come from environments where we joan on each other, we play around. Like those dudes they always was just funny as hell to me all the time. Like, and you can even see how Mac Miller, like how they embraced him or whatever. They just funny. And I that's the one thing I just wish it was a little bit more like that. But them niggas, they doing good though.
Yeah,
Kendrick doing real good.
You ever hear something that completely flips the script on what you thought you knew? That's exactly what happened when Wale started talking about Kendrick Lamar and ScHoolboy Q. And let me tell you, what he revealed is nothing like the image these cats project to the world. See, when you think about Kendrick, you're probably thinking about the serious lyricist, the deep thinker, the guy who stays quiet and introspective, right? And ScHoolboy Q, he's got that gangster edge, that hard exterior that makes you think twice before approaching him. But what Wale exposed is something most people never get to see, something that happened behind closed doors, away from the cameras and the stage lights. What he said completely changed the way people understand these legendary rappers, and it all connects to one of hip-hop's most beloved figures, Mac Miller. This story isn't just about jokes and laughter though, it's about something deeper, something that shows you who these artists really are when nobody's watching. Welcome to Celebrity Rap Life, where the red carpets never roll up and the spotlight never fades. The rewards are legendary. Because in celebrity rap life, every downfall can become a comeback, and every headline tells a deeper story. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a second of what's coming next. Wale didn't hold back when he started talking about the early days, back when all these artists were coming up and starting to cross paths in the industry. This was before the massive fame, before the Pulitzer Prize, before the sold-out world tours. This was when they were all just hungry young rappers trying to make their mark. And what went down during those times tells you everything you need to know about the real people behind the personas. Wale looked back at those moments with a kind of frustration mixed with affection, like he was tired of people not understanding what he witnessed firsthand. He said something that caught everyone off guard. He basically called out the entire hip-hop community for sleeping on the truth, for not recognizing what was really happening when these legends were building their bonds. The way he put it was straight up, no filter, just raw honesty about what he experienced. When Wale said people don't understand, he wasn't just making casual conversation. He was pointing to something specific, something that bothered him because the world had it all wrong. Here's what really went down. When all these artists started getting to know each other, when they were in studios together, at parties, backstage at shows, hanging out in LA or wherever their paths crossed, Kendrick and ScHoolboy weren't the characters you see in music videos. They weren't always in serious mode, contemplating the state of hip-hop or discussing conscious lyrics. Nah, these dudes were cracking jokes, roasting each other, being genuinely hilarious human beings. Wale emphasized this point like he needed people to really get it, like he was tired of the misconception. He kept saying they were funny, not just occasionally funny, but consistently, naturally funny all the time. This wasn't them putting on an act or trying to be comedians. This was just who they were when the pressure was off and they could be themselves. Now here's where it gets really interesting, and this is the part that makes you see everything differently. Wale specifically brought up Mac Miller, and the way he did it wasn't random. He was making a connection that most people never considered, revealing something about how friendships form in the hip-hop world that goes way deeper than collaborations or features on tracks. Mac Miller, the white kid from Pittsburgh who loved hip-hop with everything he had, who respected the culture and wanted to be part of it without appropriating it, who brought his own unique style and energy to the game. When Mac came into the picture and started connecting with the Black Hippy crew, particularly Kendrick and ScHoolboy, something special happened. But it wasn't what you might think. It wasn't just about music or mutual respect for each other's craft, though that was definitely there. What really brought them together, what made Mac feel welcomed and created those genuine bonds, was the humor. Think about how rare that is for a second. Hip-hop can be territorial, protective, especially when it comes to outsiders trying to break in. Mac could have been viewed with suspicion or kept at arm's length, but that's not what happened at all. Kendrick and ScHoolboy embraced him, fully and genuinely, and according to Wale, the key to that embrace was laughter. They connected through jokes, through being able to make each other crack up, through finding common ground in humor. That's some real human connection right there, beyond race, beyond geography, beyond all the stuff that sometimes divides people. When you can make someone laugh and they can make you laugh, When you can be goofy together and not take yourselves too seriously all the time, that's when real friendship starts. And that's exactly what Wale was describing when he talked about how they embraced Mac. The way Wale explained it, you could tell he was there for these moments, witnessing it all go down in real time. He saw the inside jokes develop, heard the roasting sessions, watched as these relationships evolved from professional acquaintances to genuine homies. And what stuck with him all these years later was how naturally funny Kendrick and ScHoolboy were, how they could switch from making serious music to clowning around without missing a beat. This duality, this ability to be both deep artists and regular dudes who like to laugh, that's what Wale wanted people to understand. He kept coming back to that point, emphasizing it, because he knew most fans only see one side. They see the finished product, the carefully crafted albums, the thoughtful interviews, the public personas. But behind all that, these are just people who enjoy making their friends laugh. Mac Miller's story adds another layer to all of this that makes it even more meaningful, especially looking back now after his tragic passing. Mac was someone who genuinely loved bringing people together, who had an infectious positive energy that made people want to be around him. He was talented as hell, creative in ways that pushed boundaries, but he was also just a good dude who appreciated real connections. The fact that Kendrick and ScHoolboy welcomed him into their circle through humor, through that universal language of laughter, shows you the kind of people they all were. There wasn't any gatekeeping or pretending, just authentic friendship built on making each other smile. Those studio sessions probably had as much laughter as recording. Those conversations probably bounced between serious talk about music and straight-up clowning on each other. What makes Wale's perspective so valuable is that he was positioned to see all of this from a unique angle. He was part of that generation of rappers, respected by his peers, moving in the same circles, but also someone who paid attention to the dynamics and relationships around him. He wasn't just focused on his own career, he was watching how other artists interacted, how friendships formed, how the culture evolved. And what he noticed about Kendrick and ScHoolboy stuck with him all these years because it contradicted everything people assumed about them. The public sees Kendrick as this serious, almost scholarly figure in hip-hop, someone who's always thinking 5 steps ahead, crafting complex narratives and social commentary. They see ScHoolboy as the harder-edged one, the gangster rapper with the bucket hat and the tough demeanor. But Wale saw past all that to the human beings underneath. The timing of Wale speaking on this is interesting too. He brought this up at a moment when people needed to hear it, when the memory of Mac Miller was still fresh and painful in everyone's minds, when understanding the real connections between these artists mattered more than ever. He wasn't trying to be controversial or create headlines, he was just being honest about what he experienced and what he thought people were missing. His frustration came through when he talked about it, that sense of wanting people to really get it, to understand that these legendary artists are more dimensional than their public images suggest. They're funny, they're playful, they're capable of deep friendship, and those qualities are just as important as their musical genius. This revelation also changes how you listen to the music when you think about it. Knowing that Kendrick and ScHoolboy have this hilarious side makes you hear their occasional playful bars differently. It makes you appreciate the moments on tracks where they let their guard down and show personality beyond the serious content. It makes collaborations like the ones with Mac Miller feel even more special because you know there was genuine love and laughter behind them, not just professional courtesy or strategic features. The Black Hippy movement, the friendship between these TDE artists and others in their circle, it all makes more sense when you understand that humor was a foundational element of their bonds. Wale's comments also speak to something bigger about hip-hop culture and how we perceive artists in general. There's this tendency to put rappers in boxes, to define them by their most prominent characteristics and never let them exist beyond those boundaries. If someone makes conscious rap, they must always be serious. If someone's from the streets, they must always be hard. But real human beings are complicated, multifaceted, capable of containing contradictions and surprising qualities. Kendrick can be a profound poet and also crack jokes that have his friends dying laughing. ScHoolboy can embrace his gang background and also be one of the funniest people in the room. These things aren't mutually exclusive, they coexist in the same person, making them more interesting and relatable, not less. The Mac Miller connection Wale highlighted is particularly touching when you consider Mac's own journey and legacy. Mac was someone who bridged different worlds in hip-hop, who brought people together naturally through his openness and talent. The fact that humor was the bridge between him and artists like Kendrick and ScHoolboy shows that underneath all the industry politics and cultural divisions, the basic human need for laughter and joy remains universal. Those friendships weren't built in boardrooms or through calculated networking. They happened organically through shared moments of genuine fun. That's the kind of connection that lasts. That means something beyond career advancement or public perception. What Wale exposed with his comments is a reminder that we often don't know artists the way we think we do. We see what they choose to show us. We interpret their art through our own lenses. But the real people behind the music are often quite different from our assumptions. Kendrick Lamar and ScHoolboy Q being hilarious behind the scenes doesn't diminish their artistry or credibility, it enhances it. It shows they're secure enough in themselves to be playful, confident enough to not take themselves too seriously all the time, and human enough to value laughter as much as success. The way they embraced Mac Miller through that shared humor demonstrates emotional intelligence and genuine warmth that makes them even more admirable as artists and as people. Looking at the bigger picture, this story Wale told reveals something essential about how real relationships form in any high-pressure environment, not just hip-hop. When people are constantly performing, constantly being judged, constantly having to project certain images, the moments when they can drop all that and just be themselves become precious. Laughter creates those moments. Humor breaks down walls. Being able to joke around with someone means you trust them enough to be vulnerable, to risk looking silly, to not worry about maintaining an image. That's what Kendrick and ScHoolboy offered Mac, and what they clearly offered each other and the people in their inner circle. That's the kind of environment where real artistry flourishes too, because when you're comfortable enough to laugh, you're comfortable enough to take creative risks. The fact that Wale felt compelled to speak on this, to basically tell the world that they don't understand what they think they understand, shows how much these observations meant to him. He wasn't sharing gossip or trying to expose anyone. He was honoring the truth of who these artists really are. He was defending them against mischaracterization, against being reduced to one-dimensional figures. And in doing so, he gave fans a gift, a deeper understanding of artists they admire, a more complete picture of the human beings behind the legendary music. That's valuable information that changes how you connect with their work, how you appreciate their legacy, and how you remember someone like Mac Miller who's no longer here. So the next time you listen to a Kendrick Lamar album or a ScHoolboy Q track, remember what Wale revealed. Remember that these serious artists who tackle heavy subjects and craft intricate verses are also the same people who are cracking jokes in the studio, making their friends laugh, embracing someone like Mac Miller through shared humor. Remember that great art doesn't require constant seriousness, that profound thinkers can also be funny as hell, and that the best friendships in hip-hop, just like anywhere else, are built on genuine human connection where laughter plays a starring role. That's the real story Wale told, and it's one worth remembering. This story is far from over, and the truth is still unfolding. I want to hear what you think. Drop your take in the comments. And if you don't want to miss the next twist, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a second of what's coming next.